Can anyone catch them, do you think?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, unbelievable. We didn't expect that.
As unbelievable as it sounds, this is another Arsenal podcast. That is the Away Gooners podcast. We bring news and reaction from Arsenal fans from all over the world. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Away Gooners podcast. We are recording this just before the game of Chelsea, the London Derby. This is a preview episode. We would talk about that game in detail a little bit. But before that, let me introduce you back to the gang. Hi, gang. Hi, Arun. Arun from
Hey
Vada.
guys, hello.
Hi, Deepak.
Hello.
Hi, Bob.
Good day, guys.
Should we be adding more intro to you guys? Like, should I give a build up as like, okay, this guy is this? And
I think except for Arun, none of us even don't have anything to talk about.
And why is that? All of us are just talking about Arsenal, so I don't see any difference in it for us.
But to start off this discussion, right? It seems like maybe before we put this podcast out, Arsenal would have announced Odegaard. At least that's what the news is saying. Like today he's here. We have already done the whole flight tracking, where he's going based on cloud patterns and all those things. So almost Odegaard is here, and it seems like for me at least, it looks like a really good deal. Wow, right? So looking at the transfer money, the value that he has as a player, and it is very rare that we get to see a player trial out for Arsenal before getting him. Right? We know exactly how he plays, what he brings, and especially in crowded stadiums, because last game of last season, he was very good in the crowd. So we know exactly what kind of player we are getting by transfer, by loan spell that we had. So what are your thoughts? Are we signing him first of all? So because I don't believe it until I see it in Arsenal.com, and at this moment I don't see that in Arsenal.com.
Yeah, so I think yes, we are signing him to answer your initial question. So he's been vaccinated, which means that he wouldn't really require a quarantine. And because he's been signed as of the time of this recording, he's been already signed his contracts there for a 5+1 year, which is sort of unusual for a player, but yeah, I think given his age, it makes sense. So we have indeed signed him, and then he could as well feature against Chelsea over the weekend. That's what the plan is going to be. So as you said, it's good to sort of get a first-hand experience of how he would play, having played here already for the last 6 months or so. I think it's more important to note that he has already worked in Arteta's system, so it's not something which is going to be new to him, like a new boss that he is going to be working under and all those sort of things. So practically it makes a lot of sense for us to have signed him ahead of others. Had we put in James Maddison, for example, the cost that Leicester are going to command for Maddison would mean that we would have to eventually make bargain signings or even potential loan signings for other positions that we need strengthening on. So Arsenal have chosen to split those, having put their money in a known prospect who's got a better age in his side and then can actually do things better. So they have chosen to instead use this money on both Odegaard and Ramsdale as well, as rather than to use it on Maddison.
So sticking to actually this cam position and sticking to Odegaard, Deepak, this seems like the fan base is split with Maddison and Odegaard, right? I know talent-wise there is a gap, but the money, the potential, and we are not yet fighting for top 4. We might think that, okay, this year we would make top 4. Next year we might take top 4. My whole idea is that we have to be there and about for at least 2 seasons before we would make that progress into top 4 or whatever, right? So
this season, it is like kind of tough to make top 4 because like the perceived top 4, let's say Chelsea, City, United, and Liverpool, their squads are like too big and like too good for us to fight for top 4. Probably we can try for 5 or 6, given that we don't have like Champions League or any European distractions. That should be the aim because the fixture congestion won't be there for us, and we should be doing that. Coming to Odegaard and Maddison, Maddison is like more of a goal scorer and stuff. People were expecting like a goal scoring number 10. Like we don't score a lot of goals nowadays under Arteta. It has like reduced drastically from the days of Wenger. Even I would not Emery, but still like, so the fans' expectations was like a goal scoring midfielder, which Maddison was. And Odegaard is like more of a facilitator who like helps the others to score goals. He had like 2 goals for us, like when he played for the 6 months, but that is okay. Like I'm not like completely disappointed with Odegaard signing. I'm happy at least we signed someone, given that I thought like we would go into the season with just ESR. So signing Maddison, like Odegaard was okay, and Maddison, they commanded 80 million. I don't think we would have paid that much money for getting him, and so I'm happy. Let's see how he performs and take it from there.
There you go, folks. If Deepak is happy, we are happy.
Like for the money which we signed him, like 35 million and something, it is like a good deal. Like it's like at least it is we should accept it. The deal wise it was good because Real Madrid was expecting like 50 million. We like pushed it till the end of the window and we reduced the price at least by 10 or 15 million, which we should give at least some credit to Edu or something.
But
now he has gone and wasted that money on Ramsdale. Come on.
but
I was going to mention that with Odegaard signing, he has now become the highest transferred player for Norway. I mean, for now, until next season.
Until Haaland, of course.
Yeah.
No, but my point in all this signing this year, Arun, is mainly that we have signed all young players, which is actually refreshing. That in a couple of years, even if these players don't actually like make it big, or like it's not going to be like all this 5-6 group of young players, everyone is going to become the next superstars. That's unrealistic. Like if you consider Saka, ESR, Odegaard, who else? Martinelli, Ben White, Lokonga, Gabriel, Nuno Tavares. All these are really young players. So maybe from this group we'll get like decent players and then some really good players and then superstars, right? That's how it's going to be. But the good thing for me, what I'm seeing in this is that all these are young players. We have signed at a premium, or we have signed at a lesser price. And when we move up the table in a couple of seasons, we would be able to cash in on these players. Like we would be creating, we would not be signing the Maddison. We would be creating a Maddison whom we could sell at 80 million, 100 million or something in a couple of seasons. And then use that money to buy something.
Don't give statements like that and all. Never give statements like we'll make superstars. Do you remember that 5 people we sold, like we are getting ready for England? Nothing happened.
English go.
I know, but at least that is what my idea of this is what I think Arsenal is going with, right, Arun? So this makes more sense than Maddison for me, at least as personally. Even though the potential and whether he's going to take us to top 4, maybe he is not going to take us to top 4. Maybe his sale will take us to top 4 or something like that. What are your thoughts, Arun?
My thoughts in terms of like the transfers that we're having, if you notice, the common pattern that we've been seeing is we, number one, the main thing is we seem to be getting our targets. We seem to be getting our fixed target. The players that we are all getting have all been players that we've been linked to for a while now. It's not like, oh, this guy is a plan A, so if we don't get him, we'll get plan B. Like AFC Bell might have other things to say, but this seems to be the case even with the case of Odegaard. When towards the end, it seemed like all of this hardballing was to bring the price down from 50 to 35. So like how people have said before me, credit where it's due. Like I never expected Edu to pull this deal off at such a low price. Odegaard at 35 million, in my opinion, is a really good signing. The fans might not be like as excited because they're probably expecting a signing that could make an instant impact, like an instant impact in terms of the glamour and in terms of the highlight reels, if you could call them. The highlight reels come up when you score goals, when you keep pinging in assists, but mainly when you score goals. Whenever you see like the promos for the channels for the games, they don't show people just giving in a finesse assist. It's about someone scoring a goal. And the one I remember seeing his face in all the Star Sports advertisements that I see, where for most periods of time, Maddison with his goal celebrations, so that gives a really different idea in the minds of people watching that this guy bangs in goals. But if you really look at his record, I think he scored less than 10 goals last season, right?
I think
Not
six
goals. Yeah, not saying that his goals are not worth anything. When you compare it to Odegaard's 2, they're definitely worth something. 4 more goals, and with the number of shots that he takes, he's likely to score more in the future. So the fact that we have not been able to get like a Bruno type signing, or the fans don't see Odegaard as a Bruno type signing, is what is probably causing the unrest in the fan base. But again, another pattern that I've noticed, like you mentioned, is the fact that we are getting these people with a higher ceiling, high potential. But again, all these people are not costing us a lot. A Gabriel Magalhaes, for example, cost us like what, under 30 million. KT cost under 30 million. So all these people have been good bargain buys, in my opinion, which shows that the club is actually trying to get a younger core of people who could be molded into something, rather than having a set defined players whose brains have been tuned into a certain way of play. We are trying to get people who could fit this pattern, fit this mold of play that Arteta is trying to implement. I don't know if that is the right way to go, because if things go south and we do have a new manager coming in, there is no probability that he's going to continue on with a young set of inexperienced players who have just been molded in one specific way of playing, So you do not really have the experience. I do not know if this is the right way to go. But if the club and the board are indeed backing Arteta, it makes me think that they want to see this to fruition. How much of a time it might take. I believe they have realistic targets, like setting a top 6 for the coming season and beyond. So in that opinion, it makes it seem to me like the club is behind Arteta, and they want to see him like to stay some more time, and that's the reason why we're getting signings like this.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it, right? Like we have spent north of 100 million, 120 million now on this transfer window alone, which is all going to be like Arteta's signing.
And they're also promising more incoming. So
yeah,
so more business rather. I would be happy with more business, but more incomings is a bonus.
So that's the next question I have is regarding what other business are we talking about, Rob? Bob, are we talking about like any outgoings? Because there seems to be like a lot of talks about loan deals for Hector and Lacazette, and then we would be signing some loan players, is what I have been reading. So,
swap deals as well, right? There were also mentions of some swap deals with Bayern.
Yeah, so I think at least in terms of further incomings, everything would now start to depend upon outgoings from the club. So as long as the outgoings doesn't happen, I don't see there's going to be any incomings at all for any positions, be it whether we need or whether we don't need. I don't think there won't be any more buys, outright buys, if I would say. So any positions that we would need strengthening would depend upon who's going out of the door, like Torreira and all those sort of people. So Torreira, Kolasinac, Villayan, Bellerin, all these people are definitely up for sale. And so could be Nelson sent on roll. There's been talks about him signing a contract extension before he could be let out to go to Crystal Palace. And then Maitland-Niles, he's been gathering some interest from Burnley, but nothing has. I mean, it's all rumors at the moment, so there's nothing, no concrete talks or anything. So entering into the final 2 weeks of the transfer window, so I expect some of these things to get picked up, and then potentially we may see something go through the line towards the end of it. But yeah, I think to answer your specific question, it would all depend upon who's going out of the door first for us to bring in new players.
So is there anyone who is actually going out of the door? Because I don't follow that side of the story, like from other clubs. So is any clubs linked with our players, like how we are linked with other players?
I don't think so. There has not been,
because all of them are putting a 10-foot pole between them and our players, so nobody's getting Sorry to cut you off there, Bob.
No, there's not anything that I was going to add anyways. I was going to say there's not been any concrete links with any of our players. So, I mean, expect to hear more on this in the coming weeks of time, but yeah, not anything to report as of now.
But so Deepak, before we start on anything else, did you see the Ramsdale Instagram or Twitter where our fans went in and like caused this? How much more of Arsenal toxicity would we have to endure before our Arsenal fans toxicity would we have to endure? Is this because of all the social media where you get a lot of traction because you say negative things, or why is this happening?
I don't know, like it's kind of like sad to see like people doing this. He is not even signed yet, and people are going and commenting on his post saying don't come to Arsenal with some hateful comments. So yeah, it's the culture, like how people are growing up right now. Like it's like social media, you sit behind a keyboard, you don't have you don't face any issues like commenting hateful things right now. You can do anything you want and you still won't be like scrutinized for it. That's what's happening. You can create hundreds of fake accounts and you can like talk any bad thing about it. Like seeing like Arsenal fans doing that to a player who still hasn't signed anything is just like, I felt it was like stupid thing to, not stupid, I felt like bad for him actually, like to do this. Let him, he's not the only reason those teams got relegated. He's just was a part of a team who like, there were like 24 other players, but just to single him out that he was the reason for relegation. Let's see, like let him come. If he doesn't perform and you make some kind of comments, that is understandable. He hasn't even started one game. Before that, they're like doing this is like, it's bad.
Arun, but Arun, so the Edu's wife posted similar picture of him barbecuing, right? And even there, the fans have gone in and like made comments of from all languages, from all over the world. They are commenting these kind of hateful comments in I don't know, because this the reason I feel is that there's not going to be any consequence, right? Like the online fans are not going to face any consequence. The club could do nothing about it. If this happened in a stadium, you could get a stadium ban. You could get, like, if you are doing that in a bar or a pub, you could get booted out. But in online world, social media, nothing could happen.
When you are someone who's lived really well, like who had a lot of riches and you grew up like rich, you had like you were spoiled basically growing up, and all of a sudden one day you start slowly losing all your money, and then you're left with nothing. And on top of that, the people around you who were rich or poor before and got richer are all like making fun of you all the time for getting poor. Then there's only so much that you can take, right? And that is being shown by the fans in social media, because we are the people who were super rich at one point. We are like one of the richest people around in terms of what we were doing, the club stature and all that. And all of a sudden now we have become joke of a club, like a banter club. Since moving to, I don't know if it is called the curse of the Emirates, but since moving to the Emirates, our stocks have continuously started going down. That takes a toll on the fans. And like you rightly said, there is really no accountability for someone who is doing this from social media, right? Who is he answerable to? Nobody. You can like create million profiles and just keep on posting the same thing over and over again, and no one's going to do anything against you. Which I don't, I'm not justifying like what the fans are doing, but then I can see where the frustration of the fans comes from. But that is by no means right, because like we keep talking about the players and mental health, and we are basically, whatever we are doing as fans is pushing on whatever negative feelings or emotions that we have onto the players, which is definitely not going to help them in any way. Like Deepak said, Ramsdale was a part of a squad that got relegated. He was not the one who was letting in goals all the time. And as much as we go and bother players asking them to join our club, while some players are trying to join, we go and do this as well. Like we track the planes, we act like creeps, we stalk people, and at the same time we go and like do all these things as well. I mean, as a fan base, we've been completely getting misguided. I do not know, by the maybe by the expectations that fans have because of the glorious history or the past that we had. And it's not like we had a glorious past 50, 60 years ago, like Tottenham, where they won like leagues and doubles and all that. Our past is very recent. Our glorious past is very recent. So it stays still fresh in your memory. So then when this happens, it is getting more difficult for the fans to really accept, and they do not know how to react like to situations like this. The toxicity is definitely not something that is going to help the players or the clubs or the fans. You keep doing this, players are going to think twice before coming to a club, not just twice, many times. As much as we have positive saying that yes, the fans kept asking me to come and join, and that played a part in it. There's definitely going to be players coming out and say, hey, I saw what these guys are doing to your players even before they get signed. And that's not what the atmosphere that I want to play in, because I know that I'm going to get booed every single time I play, no matter what I do. So now that we've created such a toxic atmosphere, unless we are going to be paying a lot of money, going all out, I do not see players really wanting to come to us. We do not have anything to offer them. The only thing that we can do is probably give them high wages, and we are trying to reduce that. So we cannot promise Champions League football. Heck, we cannot promise even Europa League football. We're trying not to pay them a lot. And on top of that, our fans go and like abuse them, their wives, their family, their pet dogs. What are we expecting? Like, where are we going here? Like, it makes no sense to me. I don't think this is going to change overnight. Like, our decline didn't happen overnight. A decline happened over a period of time. So these fans have to start thinking a little. Like you said, it's coming from all over the world. Thanks to the translate feature in Instagram or Twitter, that, like you said, the different languages, Edu is probably able to read and comprehend what is going on. But I doubt if he would like actually go through all of this. I just hope that, this changes. This is not good for the fans themselves, not good for the club as a whole, not good for the players. The stock is going down. The fans need to start thinking about this.
Bob, especially because see the upcoming game against Chelsea is going to be our first home game with all the fans back in the stadium. I mean, we had fans back during the last game of the season last year, but we are going to have the whole crowd back at Emirates for this Chelsea game, and it's a London derby. Whether we are at the whatever level it's still a London derby. It's still a derby game. And we are going to have the fans back into the stadium. As a person who has been to the stadium, does this online toxicity or this displeasure with the fan that we see in the like social media space, does this get translated into the stadium crowd? Do the crowd react in this way, or would we have a really good crowd response to it, like how Brentford? They were literally showing that the crowd had an impact from the stadium on players. So which crowd are we seeing in Emirates for Chelsea game?
See, I think considering that it's sort of a very tricky thing to answer at the moment, because you would think that it's the first game of the season, so there would be a lot of expectations and all those sort of things. Yet after our first result against Brentford, the whole fan base, at least on the social media platforms, seems very deflated, I would say, with the way that we performed, and then with the lack of fight or lack of intent into the game. So having said that, since it's going to be the first game of the new season, there will definitely be an encouragement, but that will quickly turn sour as far as what I can think of if the results don't go in our favor or if the gameplay is not how we need to be doing. There is probably little to suggest that we would be one of those noisy crowds to actually intimidate the opposition if the going is actually getting tough or if we are not actually getting things done our way. Because there's not been any encouragement as well in terms of the play and all those sort of things. There is largely a discontent which is starting to happen against the manager, and then of course against the technical director, as we touched upon earlier. So there are indications that if the result could come, or if we start to show glimpses of what we can or what we should be doing, then it would be in our favor. Then if not, it would quickly turn against us, and then it would start putting the pressure on the players further more than what they are on the field.
But talking about the game, Arun, I should first apologize to you, because last podcast we were talking about Aubameyang and Lacazette missing out and how it could be translated into something else, connecting the dots and stuff. But you mentioned that we don't know what has happened, so let's not take any considerations. And seems like you were right. Right, and it seems like they were sick, and
it's not something that I want to be proud of, but if we could all not speculate as much when things like this happen, I don't think we would be having so much of toxicity when going around amongst the fans. So sorry to cut you off.
No. There was reports coming out from channels that the game was very close to cancel because of some players turning out positive COVID or being in the bubble and this happening and kind of thing. So there are still rumors about whether Aubameyang and Lacazette are down with COVID, or is there something else that's happening in the club. So we don't know the reason yet. So there is a very strong possibility that both of them will not be available for the Chelsea game. Right?
No, I don't think either of them is going to be available.
Yeah. So what are the changes? Let's start with the changes for the predicted lineup for Chelsea from Arsenal's point of view. I see Saka coming in and maybe Martinelli moving to the center. Or are you going to think that no, it's going to stay the same as what we played against Brentford?
What I'm going to say right now might seem like I'm going back on what I've always said, like not playing a back three and evolving. But I think right now we're in a situation where we have to try and go back to a back three and play out from the back with a back three. Though it might seem boring, that's the only way we could possibly try and get a result against Chelsea. So I would go for a 3-4-3 for the Chelsea game. And I would like to strengthen at the back. Just Mari and White together did not work last time. And whether Chelsea play Lukaku or not, they have a potent enough attack to take our back four down with just the likes of Chambers, Mari, and White. White is playing his second game. He might be a very good player, but I don't want to put too much pressure on him right away. So I would go with the back three of, Mari, White, and maybe Holding. Or Chambers, one of the two over there, or Katie. Yeah, I think this is what I'll do. Yeah, Katie, Mari, and White, back three. Leno starts in goal. My wing backs, I'll play probably Saka, and I want to try Tavares, since in spite of having four right backs, he did come in as a right back last game, so why not? And he's physically more robust and probably can do a better job there than any of our guys that we have. So I would put them both at wing back. In the middle, I just have go with Xhaka and Sambi. We do not have another option. And I'd like to see a front three. If Odegaard's available, I'd like to see him start in a front three.
I don't think so he's available. I think the last news that I read was about him still working on visa and stuff like that. So
then in that case, I'd play ESR, Pepe, and Martinelli as my front three.
Okay. But who's on Martinelli through the center is what you're saying.
Either way, you do it depends on how we want to play. With 3-4-3, I think the guy in the middle could either be Pepe or because he's played up front, or Martinelli because that's what I think he sees himself and the club sees him for the future. So it's going to be ESR probably on the right, Pepe on the left, and Martinelli in the center, or they swap positions.
Okay. I don't see that many changes happening. Deepak, do you see that many changes happening, like formation change and then players changing? The changes
we might start with 3 at the back just to match Chelsea. They are going to definitely start 3 at the back. So Arteta will play it safe and go for man-to-man at least right now. The first instinct would be to not to concede. That has been like Arteta's thing. He has been always reactive when it comes to like the teams, because we don't have the player personnel or a defined system right now to impose it on like bigger teams. So we are like a kind of an underdog. So we would try to match the system which the other team goes with. So yeah, I definitely see we might start with the back 3. The players, I don't know, like it depends like who he starts with. So I definitely don't want to see Saka at like left back, like a left wing back. I want him like a little bit forward because he is our best attacker right now. So I don't want him to be at a left wing back. Probably Tavares can start at left wing back, and one of the four holy can start
right back,
right wing back.
I mean, Bellerin would
holy or unholy? You should probably say the unholy.
I would still start like Cedric. I still feel like he hasn't been given enough chances to play at right back or either right wing back. He has been. I definitely say he has been given chances. So why not just simply like start him? Then why the hell did you even give him like 4-year contract if you don't want to play him?
But if say for example, like if we don't have Saka as the wing back and instead play him up front, then we have to drop one of Pepe or Odegaard or Martinelli. So
drop Pepe simply. Yeah, his start has been he finishes well the season, and something happens to him during this thing. He goes back to his old self. He was like really good, like last 3-4 games when the season ended.
Yeah.
And he always, when the season starts, he goes back to his usual way, does some nonsense with this thing. I don't know whether it's due to the system which we play or some kind of confidence issue, something. But right now, the game which he had with Brentford, it was completely dreadful performance from him. So if we are dropping, either it should be Martinelli or Pepe.
Okay. So Bob, do you want to touch on Arsenal, or are you going to talk about Chelsea? Because I do have some questions about Chelsea, especially with Lukaku coming in. He has declared himself fit, and even Tuchel said that he's fit. So he might start or he might come off from bench, which is both scary. I mean, the Chelsea team in itself is scary from top to bottom, but again, to add Lukaku to it and in front of our defense, that looks really scary. Any thoughts on
actually,
Chelsea?
It's not as scary as what you think, Vijay. So if you look at the Chelsea team, the only solace that I could take from that team is the fact that Lukaku might get a start, and that could prevent one of them from getting into that team, which is good. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just 11 versus 11. You don't look at the names on the paper and then make a call in terms of who's going to be playing better.
11 versus 22. 11 versus 22.
Arsenal against Arsenal always. Yeah,
but,
go ahead.
But if you actually talk about what Lukaku would do, I don't think he would be in the level of fitness or in form as such. He's just coming back. I don't think he's had much of a preseason as such with Inter. He probably would have actually played a few games, but having to come to a different country and then just start a game, it obviously would take a time. And his record against Arsenal is not as in great. I mean, when you look at all the other Chelsea strikers in the past, Drogba and others, who have tormented every game that they have played against. So Lukaku, if I were to quote the stats, he has just scored 2 goals against the 15 games that he's played against Arsenal. And that has actually taken him, I mean, he's had 30 shots. So, I mean, it's not a clear indicator. I'm just going purely based on stats. Of course, he would actually come down and then, he would be able to even score a hat trick. We don't know. But from what I think, the way that Lukaku plays, he is not the single main threat that we should be looking for. I mean, technically in the past, we could even face a threat from Aspilicueta or even Alonso, for example, or anyone else, So we have to be wary about every player, on the pitch, because anyone could actually make a mistake and someone could capitalize and score a goal. So we just can't focus on one. We have to be focusing on every player, and we have to be focusing every minute.
Okay, so let me put it this way, Arun. Who and all would be the key players for both the teams? Like for me, I would say for our team, Saka and ESR, as we know. But I think the key would be Xhaka having a good game, right?
I would say Kieran Tierney.
Okay. And for Chelsea, I think that anyone who could run our midfield would be the person who would be impacting. I'm not very much into. I mean, Kante is available, so there is a good shout out that he could influence the game. So let me go around. Arun, who are your key players for both the teams for this game?
For Arsenal, it'd be KT, Saka, and ESR, like you said. I don't think because KT is the one who's putting in crosses, whether like it's working or not. He's the one who's doing the maximum. And on the pitch too, you see him being the one who's putting the maximum effort. So he's the one who tries to make things happen. So he's going to be a very key player for us. And in terms of Chelsea, I would say everyone. Because as much as Bob, I would like to believe what Bob said, that at the end of the day it's 11 versus 11. The confidence and the ability of the players plays a huge role. That we are not going into the game with any sort of confidence, having lost at a newly promoted team, and this is again the added pressure of playing at home with a result like that, and with fans being toxic as usual. So I would say that puts added pressure. But mainly for me, if you ask me the Chelsea players, I would say all of them. I cannot think of one person who would not trouble us.
Deepak, your danger man for this game.
My key players are Saka and Leno.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I'm expecting Chelsea to have a lot of shots, and better this guy be on his best. To at least I expect a clean sheet, but that is later.
Okay.
But then for Chelsea, I still feel Jorginho is their best player, and then I would say probably if, Werner, because he doesn't score goals due to his shit finishing, but he brings a lot to the team. So yeah, Jorginho and Werner.
Okay. Bob, so before we start on, I would give this disclaimer. So you could go on about your stats after this too. So your key players, and go on about your stats.
I would agree with Deepak. If I were to single out anyone from the Chelsea team, I would look at Jorginho as the key player to watch out for. But having said that, I think anyone could become a threat at any point in time. So we have to be wary of everyone.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead with your stat corner.
Right. Okay. So I don't have much of a stats to show. Obviously, I don't want to dwell into all the head-to-head records and all those sort of things. But if I were to talk about interesting things to note for this weekend's game, both Arsenal and Chelsea are set to play their second London derby in 2 games. Chelsea having played Crystal Palace in their first game, and Arsenal with Brentford. There's been a high influx of London-based teams this season, so you got to be having a lot of London derbies. So they're both playing their second London derbies, and then it absolutely noted that Arsenal's last 2 Premier League games, the first games of the last season were as well London derbies, played against Fulham and West Ham. So on a Sunday, Arsenal having beaten Chelsea in their last Premier League, in the last 10 Premier League meetings. They've drawn 2, lost 8. Their last win on a Sunday came back in 2008 November when we won 2-1 at the bridge.
Wow.
But if you look at on the flip side, the Arsenal are unbeaten in their previous 8 Premier League Sunday games. I mean, that's a good start to look at, because we won 6 and then drawn 2. So maybe that luck could as well continue with us on Sunday. This is as well to be noted that this is the first Premier League away game for Chelsea since 1984, since the time that I've spawned. So yeah, that's quite a long while. And if you look at our opening record, since you spoke about that before, Arsenal have won only 5 of the last 10 opening games at Emirates. To be noted that we won the last 2 home season games, but our record has been terrible in that regard, that we've just won 4 and drawn 1 out of those 10 games possible, last 5 of them. Chelsea have won only 3 of their last 14 Premier League games, last 14 games against Arsenal. This is again in all competitions. They've drawn 5 and lost 6, of which they have lost the last 3 consecutive outings. Now, I wanted to ask you guys a question, trivia question. Of these unbeaten record against Chelsea, can you actually take a guess in terms of how long that it was actually stretching for the last time that we had an unbeaten record against Chelsea?
Back in the 60s, 70s?
Okay. So we had an unbeaten record between Jan 1999 to March 2004. That was almost more than a period of 5 years that we were completely unbeaten against Chelsea.
Yeah. Vieira hasn't lost a game as a player against Chelsea.
Yeah, so that was back in early 2000s. Long time history for now. Yeah, so in terms of the attacking threat, you guys mentioned about Kieran Tierney has actually created 6 chances against Brentford. There was another Arsenal player who has created more chances in the Premier League games since April 2019. Can you actually take a guess in terms of who that player would be?
2019.
Yes. Okay, I'll give you the answer to save yourself some trouble. It was our Nigerian Messi.
Oh no, Deepak, I thought it was Pepe and I even did this. No, I trusted you, man.
Iwobi. That's how we cheated Everton into buying him for so much money. Just showed them the reels of Iwobi playing against Chelsea, and that's what we did. Like here,
not against Chelsea. Actually, it was against Watford, I have to say. So it was still 7 chances.
Okay.
One more than what Tierney had against Brentford. So finally, I just wanted to reiterate the fact that Lukaku has just scored 2 goals in the 15 outings that he has had against us, which I had already touched upon. So yeah, that's it from me in terms of the stats.
Okay, so let's go ahead with the predictions for the game. I mean, it went super weird about like the last predictions. We all predicted a win and Bob predicted a draw, but we know what happened. So let's go ahead with the predictions. I'll start with you, Bob. What's your predictions?
No prediction for me. I just want to keep it safe.
Second game of the season. What are you doing to us, Arsenal?
I think it's just a personal sentiment that I don't usually go in for predictions.
Okay. So Arun, what's your prediction?
A 2-0 or a 2-1 loss.
2-0 or 2-1 loss to Chelsea.
No, to Arsenal. To Arsenal, I'll be realistic. It's okay, 0-2 or a 1-2 loss.
No, actually, it's a home game. Yeah, 0-2.
Yeah, okay. 0-2 or a 1-2 loss. Yeah.
Okay.
Not that I'm being negative or anything, but I think like I'm not going to go against the team if they do lose this game because come on, the gulf in quality is very obvious. So yeah.
Deepak?
I'm predicting either it's a 1-0 win to us or a 1-1 draw.
That's unusual to see Deepak predicting a win against Chelsea.
No, we have been doing well, so I expect us to at least I expect us to put on a fight, but I don't know how these guys will play. But let's see. So, don't play like the way they played against Brentford, please. At least give some kind of fight.
Yeah, I'm predicting a win too against Chelsea, but I still feel Chelsea might score. So there might be a 2-1 victory for Arsenal is what my prediction is. But anyways, guys, it's been a nice one. Hopefully, we would meet after winning against Chelsea.
Come on, you Gunners.
Say yes.
Bye.